Good morning, students. Today we are going to discuss a very important poet of the 17th century, and the name of that poet is John Dryden. John Dryden is a name, and he is famous for his reason and argumentative poetry. And you know that that is an important age, 17th century in English literature, and he is the leading poet of that age. And John Donne was born in 1631, and he died in 1700. He was a poet, critic, and a dramatist. He was the leading man of letters of his time. There was a serious political controversy during his time. He supported with his pen different parties. He lamented the death of King Cromwell and defended a little later welcomed the return of Charles II to the throne. He defended Anglicanism, but later on he became a Roman Catholic. In this way, he lost the poet laureateship. Poet laureateship means the status of the court's poet, Darbari Kavi, poet's laureateship. There is a little emotional power in his poetry. That is the key point. That is the characteristics of his poetry. That in his poetry you will not find emotions. Rather, he has tried to explain the things with reason and with arguments. And that's why that he is an important poet of the 17th century. His poems are full of reasons and arguments. He wrote superb satire. He is also the another important characteristic of poetry is writing brilliant satires. Satires means vyang, as you know that. But here he has written satire of a very high quality, of high standard. Normally people make use of satire when you make laugh or you make fun of others. But he has elevated the level of satire so high that the person will not feel hurt but rather enjoy it, and the writer, the poet is able to convey his feelings or his anguish, his anger, and his animosity, whatever he has. But he has written superb satires, and you will enjoy the punch of his satires when you read the poem which is prescribed in his course, and that is Shadwell. The poem which is in your course is Shadwell, and we would soon discuss the poem Shadwell, what it is about. But mainly he has used satire to make fun of his opponents, to show them, underestimates them. He had used satires. But he is a very skillful master. He is a very superb craftsman in writing satire. As you know that a skilled housewife, very cleverly, very skillfully collects the cream of the milk without disturbing the surface of the milk. Similarly, the style of John Dryden, that he has used satires in such a superb manner that the person thinks that what can he do? He is unable to defend himself. So I hope that you would enjoy his satires, and you have two poems of John Dryden prescribed in your course, but today we will discuss Shadwell. Now, let's come to Shadwell. Shadwell is a plain satire. Dryden makes fun of his contemporary playwrights, Thomas Shadwell. Dryden refers to him as a dull poet because he belonged to the opposite sides in politics. He belongs to the other group, the opposite of John Dryden. The poem is taken from his book called Mac Flecknoe, which means son of Flecknoe. So in this poem, Shadwell is represented as is presented as, you can say, the son of Flecknoe, and his name is Shadwell. Dryden regarded Richard Flecknoe. Flecknoe full name was Richard Flecknoe, a dull poet. Similarly, his son Shadwell inherits all the qualities of his father, as it is natural that a son inherits the outward physical appearance, or you can say the resemblance with his father, with his parents. So Shadwell also got, you can say that inherits the style of writing of Flecknoe. He continued the style of Richard Flecknoe's writing, which Dryden considers as totally dull and without any meaning. And in one line, he also called his poetry as nonsense. So this is the background of the poem Shadwell. And now let's see that how the poem begins. So this is also very noticeable that Dryden uses a very high class language, very elevated language to explain a very simple thing. Dryden begins the poem with a universal truth. There is no doubt in it, everything which exists in the world would decay after some time. It is a natural phenomena that whoever is born, he must die one day, and what great monuments or structures we can build after some time, so they are dilapidated, they are not so strong, they are not so you can say that smooth and good looking, they lose their shyness after some time. Similarly, now he relates this thing that this is a universal fact that after some time, after a gap of some time, there is a process of disintegration takes place in things, not only in things, even in a human body also. After some time, there is a disintegration, there is a degradation, you can say. I hope that you understand my words, and if you have any problem, you can pose me, you can ask me to explain those things, and you can also send your comments and your problems on my WhatsApp number. So anything you feel uneasy or uncomfortable, so feel free to ask me anything about the subject. So similarly, the distribution takes place. Similarly, when destiny calls, or when the great kings cannot dare to deny, that when the God summons, for example, the angels of death comes to take your soul, so not ordinary man's, but even the kings cannot deny it. So look at that. Dryden compares Flecknoe. Later on, Dryden compares Flecknoe with King Augustus. King Augustus of Rome, because King Augustus was a great king. He ruled quite a long time, and he became king in a very young age. Similarly, he says that as King Augustus occupied the throne in the young age and lasted for a long time, his reign continued for a long time. Similarly, Flecknoe started writing from his young age. He wrote both in verse and in prose. You can say in poetry and prose. He wrote in both the areas. Dryden criticizes him and refers his writing as absolute nonsense. Whatever he has written a lot of things, but whatever he has written, they have no meaning, and they come in the category of nonsense. There is no sense in his writing, according to Dryden. So he is very harsh upon his opponents, and he uses a very harsh language to criticize, to downstreamate his opponents. I hope that you are enjoying the poem, and we would continue to discuss the poem Shadwell in my next lecture also. Thank you.